Hey man, the moment you stop feeding her your constant energy, something in the dynamic begins to bend in a way she never expected, because she got used to the version of you who always answered, always cared, always reacted. She built her confidence on the idea that no matter how she behaved, whether she was cold, distant, moody, dismissive, you would still show up. That reliability made her feel powerful. It made her believe she was irreplaceable. But when you switch off that emotional tap and give her nothing but silence and space, the ground beneath her starts to shift. You're no longer the easy source of validation she used to draw from, and that absence forces her into a psychological terrain she has never navigated before. Ignoring her doesn't mean being rude or vindictive. It means you finally stopped rewarding behavior that drained your peace. It means your attention is no longer cheap. And when a woman who has always relied on your emotional availability suddenly feels that availability disappear, her mind begins to race. She starts wondering what changed, what she missed, what she failed to see coming. Women feel emotional shifts faster than men feel logical ones. So the moment you detach, she feels it like a physical drop in temperature. At first, she'll try to convince herself she doesn't care. She'll act unfazed, maybe even smug about the distance. She'll tell herself you're just in a mood or going through something. But part of her is already unsettled because deep down, she knows this isn't random. She knows this isn't how you normally react. She senses that this silence isn't emotional weakness. It's emotional clarity, and clarity scares her far more than conflict ever could. When you stop responding, she loses the emotional mirror she used to evaluate her worth. Your reactions, your responses, your attention, all of it helped her understand her place in your world. Without that feedback, she feels blind. And when a woman feels blind, she feels threatened. Not physically, emotionally. And emotional threat is what destabilizes her far more than anything else. Ignoring her forces her to sit with something she avoids at all costs, her own reflection. The silence you give her becomes a mirror she never wanted to look into. Suddenly, she has to question her choices, her tone, her actions, her attitude, all the things she brushed aside because she believed you'd never leave. Your absence becomes the teacher she never allowed your presence to be. When a woman can no longer predict your behavior, she loses confidence in the emotional control she believed she had over the dynamic. This is why silence is so powerful. It strips away the illusions she built around herself. She can't hide behind excuses. She can't manipulate tone. She can't twist the narrative because your silence gives her nothing to work with, and that nothingness becomes everything. Ignoring her shifts the polarity instantly. Instead of you seeking her emotional approval, she begins seeking yours. Instead of you wondering how she feels, she starts wondering how you feel. The script flips, the roles reverse, all because you removed the stimulus she depended on, your attention. Without that stimulus, her mind enters a looping cycle of curiosity, confusion, and concern. She'll start studying your behavior in ways she never did before. She'll pay attention to your timing, your energy, your presence. She'll notice things she once ignored, how calm you look, how focused you seem, how unaffected you appear. Your indifference becomes louder than her affection ever was. Because when a woman realizes she no longer influences your emotional state, she begins questioning her own value in your life. Ignoring her creates emotional distance she didn't prepare for. She expected a fight, a debate, a conversation, something she could control. Silence gives her no battlefield, no leverage, no predictable outcome. And because she can't anchor herself to your reactions, she starts drifting emotionally. That drift is what triggers the anxiety. She tries so hard to hide behind her confident exterior. This anxiety isn't about losing you, not at first. It's about losing the emotional stability she gained from your presence. She wasn't used to being the one who feels uncertain. She wasn't used to being the one who overthinks. She wasn't used to being the one who waits. But your quiet withdrawal turns her into the one who now has to question, wonder, and analyze. Ignoring her exposes the reality of your value. When you were always available, she never had to confront how much she relied on that presence. But now, with your energy gone, she realizes how much emotional space you once filled. She realizes how steady you were, how consistent, how grounding. And this realization hits harder than any breakup conversation ever could. Women rarely reflect until they lose emotional access. They don't see the damage they cause while the man is still absorbing it. But once he stops absorbing, once he stops responding, once he stops investing, she is forced to see everything she ignored. Her neglect, her assumptions, her entitlement, her lack of appreciation. Silence forces accountability in ways words never can. Ignoring her reveals one more thing: the difference between affection and attachment. If she only cared because you reacted, she will disappear. But if she cared because she valued you, she will return with humility. Your silence separates the genuine from the superficial. It filters emotion from ego. It exposes her intentions without you having to say a single word. Her first instinct will be to test the boundary. She'll try to trigger you again, just to check if she still has emotional access. She might act colder, talk to someone new, or pretend she's unbothered. These aren't signs of strength, they're signs of fear. A woman who feels secure never performs. A woman who feels threatened performs constantly. But when none of her performances affect you, something in her breaks. The illusion of control dissolves. She realizes she can no longer reach you emotionally. That's when she feels the emotional loss, the real loss, not of you, but of her influence over your life. And losing influence hurts her far deeper than losing attention. Ignoring her forces her into introspection. She'll start wondering if she pushed too far, expected too much, or gave too little. She'll start reevaluating moments she dismissed before. She'll question her own decisions. She'll feel guilt she once avoided. Your silence becomes the consequence she never imagined she'd face. And you'll notice her tone shift. The way she communicates changes. She becomes softer, gentler, slower, and more thoughtful. It's not manipulation, it's realization. She understands, perhaps for the first time, that your presence was never guaranteed. She sees that the emotional comfort you gave her was a privilege, not a promise. Ignoring her also resets the dynamic. The power she once had dissipates. The emotional imbalance that existed becomes balanced again. She can no longer treat you as the emotional constant while she fluctuates. She has to match your energy now, not expect you to carry hers. This distance reveals something else, what she truly feels. Because a woman who didn't value you won't care that you pulled back. She'll move on quickly, almost too quickly. But a woman who cared deeply will struggle. She'll try to reconnect. She'll want clarity. She'll want to restore balance. Your silence reveals her real attachment without you having to test anything. Ignoring her also repositions your worth in her eyes. You stop being the man she assumed would always be there, and you become the man she now fears losing. This shift increases her respect instantly. Because women only respect what they fear losing. Not fear in a negative way, but emotional fear. The fear of losing access to something meaningful. When you stop giving attention, she stops taking you for granted. Every action you take becomes amplified. Every word you say becomes heavier. Every decision you make becomes more meaningful. Your presence becomes rare, and rarity creates value. She now sees you with clarity she never had when your attention was effortless. Ignoring her also protects you. It prevents resentment from building. It stops you from bending into someone you're not. It keeps your emotional center intact, because a man who constantly reacts to a woman's moods becomes drained, but a man who stays calm, detached, and selective with his energy becomes powerful. Eventually, she reaches a point where the silence is too loud to ignore. The distance is too wide to pretend it doesn't matter. That's when she begins to reapproach, carefully, respectfully. Not because she suddenly became perfect, but because she finally sees the value of what she once overlooked. She sees the man she couldn't see when he was too close. And whether you take her back or walk away is your decision. But the power lies with you now. Not because silence is manipulation, but because silence created clarity. You no longer need her to validate you. You no longer need her to choose you. You're not acting cold, you're acting centered. And that centered energy is what changes everything. So remember this, brother. Ignoring her isn't about punishment, it's about self-respect. It's about reclaiming your peace. It's about removing yourself from emotional chaos and returning to your own foundation. Because the moment you prioritize your own emotional world over being her emotional safety net, everything shifts. She becomes aware. She becomes mindful. She becomes attentive. But most importantly, you become the version of yourself she should have respected from the beginning.